Welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator, where we discuss how real estate brokers can accelerate their growth by improving their agent recruiting and retention. I'm Jim Turner, and we're going to discuss real estate brokerage growth tactics with our special guest, who's an expert in the industry. Let's get started. Hi, my name's Jim Turner, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brokerkit, and I'll be your host today. Today on the show, we're super excited to have Scott Bergman, who is a Realty One Group broker owner out in Omaha, Nebraska. Scott is a big advocate and early adopter in the use of AI in brokerages, both on the sales and the recruiting side. And he's also a coach to both agents and brokers as well. Scott, welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator.
Thank you so much, Jim. I'm super excited to be here and talk about the platform AI, and I'm ready to get started.
So maybe let's just start kind of with some background. How long have you been in the business? How did you get into kind of like being a broker versus an agent?
Yeah.
How did you get into kind of recruiting and also AI?
You bet. So my background is, I think, different than most. Before real estate, I've been in real estate 5 years. Before real estate, I was in social work. I spent 10 years in the social work industry, all the way from the front line of social work up to leadership. I kind of hit a glass ceiling in that realm, and I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Led me over to understanding or learning about real estate, jumped in, got my real estate license. I kind of took off as an independent agent, started building a small team. And we just recently made the decision to buy our own brokerage. Actually, this year, we bought a Realty One Group franchise, which has been the brand I've been with for about 4 years now. And AI, it was kind of like everybody else. You kind of started to hear the buzz about 1.5 to 2 years ago. But I'm sure you can understand when you start uncovering or flipping over those passion rocks that you didn't know you enjoyed or liked, and catch yourself going down those funnels. I kind of did that early on with AI. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I wanted to kind of stretch the limits of what it could do. And I guess I dove in, did that at a pretty high rate of speed. And by the time I came out of a deep 6-month, I guess, study, if you will, or understanding of it, I realized, wow, there's a lot here, not just for me. And I'd be very selfish if I didn't take that to the world and help explain and coach and guide on what AI can do in the business of real estate, the business of recruiting, and just making a difference out there in the real estate industry as a whole.
Cool. Well, we love AI at Brokerkit. We leverage it in our product, but also in many ways internally. I won't geek out too hard on the internal ways, but like the tools for writing and updating code these days are kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But brokers probably wouldn't care about that. But within our product, obviously, we've got generative AI features and around the data using our Realytics integration, predictive analytics. Big fan. And it really helps you be much more precise. So more of a kind of a rifle shot than shotgun shot.
Yeah.
And with the recruiting in your time's much more efficient. So we love that. So that was interesting. You said Robert Kiyosaki in his book. I read that book myself. And that's actually, I think, how I got into real estate also, investing. The way I started getting into it was a side hustle doing flipping homes and then apartment buildings, and sold an apartment building that then funded Brokerkit, basically. And also in 2022 was mentioning, super bullish on Bitcoin, silver, and gold. And I took some of the advice, shifted some of my cash over there, and it's done extremely well since then.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So he's definitely an interesting dude to keep an eye on.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's just talk about your brokerage. Maybe just tell us, how many agents do you have now? Where do you want to be in 12 months from now? What are just kind of the goals of your brokerage?
You bet. So we're a small brokerage now. I think I came over, we opened up May 1st. I came over with a 3-person team opening up a brokerage. We're up to about 10 agents now. I think the goal in the next 12 months is to hit 25. In the beginning, I'll be honest, I was afraid of recruiting. It's a lot like when an agent enters the industry and they're afraid of making cold calls, or they're afraid of really being someone that they're not. I don't know anybody that truly enjoys making 300, 400, 500 calls a day. And I can honestly tell you, coming into it, there was a ton of tools and resources out there, and I explored a previous tool that we no longer use for recruiting that was okay, but I knew that there was more user-friendly, more futuristic tools. And I don't remember how I stumbled onto Brokerkit. And honestly, as I was exploring it and from the outside looking in, I was like, no, it looks a little too good to be true. And I jumped on the call and was blown away at how user-friendly, how the interface was, how simple it was, how much cheaper it was, night and day. And it almost felt like starting up was was almost stealing. And I still feel that way. I've been using it for about 2 to 3 weeks now. And what I hear a lot from broker owners as I travel and speak is they want to use AI in their recruiting strategies, but they're piecing together 3 or 4 different AI tools. And what I've loved that you guys have done at Brokerkit is it's one tool. You have AI ingrained in almost everything that you do, to include automatic prompts. So if you want to write an email as a broker owner, you can click 4 or 5 automatic prompts that are pre-templated, or you can go as far as typing your own. And the first day I got it, I think I created 15 emails in the matter of like 7 minutes for an email campaign. So I'm super impressed. If you're a broker owner out there looking for what I truly feel should be the future of agent recruiting when it comes to tools and resources, I'm lucky to have jumped on the boat early with Brokerkit. Man, I called my regional manager. I don't know if you remember, but I called my regional manager the second we got off the call because I was so impressed with the tool. And honestly, I've loved it. We're using it every single day.
Love it. Love it. And that's one of my favorite features to show on demos, is just writing the emails. The thing that's kind of amazing to me, right? We're leveraging the GPT-4 integration from OpenAI, but we're kind of training it. So it's not the same results you'll get on ChatGPT. We're training it. You're a broker, giving it context, you're recruiting, and also giving it system instructions around things like what our variables or merge tags are. So it just kind of knows those.
Yeah.
But what's cool beyond that, though, is the fact that it's basically trained on everything on the internet. So like Realty One Group, I mean, if you mention that in your prompts, it knows all the branding on Realty One Group from scraping the websites, basically. And then if you're targeting another brokerage, it knows that one too, right? It's super cool because you can basically say like, I'm with Realty One Group targeting this other brokerage. Help me write a compelling message for someone with this profile. And it really will customize it down to that level of personalization. And it really helps you get to that level of mass personalization. And helps you cut through the noise, basically.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite features is the advanced filters feature. Because when I've looked at when I was using a previous tool and you would kind of mess around with the advanced features, it felt like it was really clunky to use, didn't connect with what I really wanted to get from agents, which was point blank production insights, their ability to, or their maybe thought around changing or transferring. And what I love that you kind of front loaded in the advanced filters is the ability to check out all those things. I think broker owners, what they really need to be thinking about right now is, do they have a tool that they can easily jump in, click a few buttons, identify who they want to be communicating to and attracting. And then that's where AI comes in. I think you guys have done a great job there at being able to quickly identify a level of insight and depth into agent recruits that I wouldn't have thought about before. And what's so impressive about, as you guys continue to grow and develop, that you're continuing to advance, that you're not rolling out a product that did great out the gate, going to wait a year and a half, sit on your loins and revisit. I can tell, even in working with your frontline staff, Manny included, the second I saw the button to click for basically automatic updates for when agents do transactions and that data feed that you guys are developing, I probably clicked that button 4 times because I did not want to miss out on being part of that beta. But it's such a simple tool to use that I've gotten to the point where I feel very comfortable with virtual assistants going in, and I can do a 2-minute tutorial on who I want to go after for that day or for that month or that year, and they can jump in and it's kind of it's an all-in-one. So yeah, I love being able to jump in, get the insights that are necessary to attract the right agents, and kind of just jump right in and get it done.
And then you are kind of talking to us right as we've rolled out in beta our agent alerts feature, which is nightly listing updates. We can cover that at the end, how to get you enrolled in that if you're interested in that. We're kind of selectively pulling people into that program right now as we roll it out in phases. So. Yeah. And we're super excited about that. And for the people listening later, then the goal is, what we're trying to get to is a daily email of all the agents you're following with listing updates, new listings going to pending, under contract, emails changing, which means they probably switch brokerages, just so you can kind of follow them and you have a reason to reach out to people and it's soft, right? As you said earlier, recruiting ultimately is sales. And our belief is that recruiting in brokerages is like B2B sales. It's not like recruiting in other industries, right?
Yeah.
Which is why most recruiting software, frankly, doesn't make sense for real estate. In corporate jobs, right, you have an HR person that goes out and they write a job description, they post it on a job board, people apply to it. But in real estate, I mean, it's more of a B2B sales where these agents have their own business. You're trying to attract them to your business. They're very much a client to you, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to sell them on kind of working with you almost in a vendor relationship. So our thought process with Brokerkit was like, take the B2B sales tools and processes that worked for that and bring it over into this industry.
Yeah.
Because it's so fundamentally different. Yeah, no, cool. So tell us, like, what territory and niche are you targeting?
Realty One Group is a 100% commission model. And I think you made a very good point. I think one of the biggest challenges in recruiting in our industry versus others is it's not about the what. I'm going to be transparent. The what brokerages have to offer is very similar tools, very similar resources, CRMs, websites, all that fun stuff. It's the when. When I receive that message is probably the most pivotal, or when a recruit receives that message is probably the most pivotal in their decision-making journey. And I think, just like you mentioned, continuing to grow and find ways to provide value when it's the right time, when they're thinking of making a move, when they got that congratulations from you and they didn't get it from their broker, when they identified that they could have made $2,000 more on their commission. I think for broker owners, I think with a tool like Brokerkit, it allows you to identify the when to communicate the right message. Because we all lovingly, I've never sat in a room with other broker owners and they've said we have 4 out of 5 stars or 3 out of 5 stars type tools. Everyone says the same stuff. We've got the same tools and same resources, different colors on our for sale signs. We're getting to a point where it's necessary to identify when to connect to the right agent because they're thinking about a change over what you have to offer. And when it comes down to who we're looking to attract, I mean, point blank, and I'm sure other broker owners can connect with this. I feel my brokerage in my city is the best place to be, but I am looking to attract and grow agents that want to grow and scale, that want coaching, that want guidance. In Realty One Group, we abide by the 6 C's, and they're biblical in a sense to us. And one of those is commissions. We're a 100% brokerage model. We're not a split-based brokerage model. So you get one agent, coming over to us, they can sell the same amount of houses and make an extra $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. But that isn't what we lead with. I coach agents across the nation. I coach about a dozen agents across the nation, as well as the internal agents in my brokerage. We're looking to attract agents that are coachable, that want to grow and scale, that want to build small teams, that want to build systems and processes. We're not going after the set in stone type agents. And with that, our ideal, and I think broker owners really need to be asking themselves this question, the persona. What is the persona around the right agent for your brokerage? And if you don't know how to begin there, because I firmly believe that any marketing or recruiting or sales in general needs to start with a persona, because if you don't know the thoughts and wants and needs of the people you're communicating with, how do you know what to talk about? I think broker owners need to be thinking, okay, if I had a mannequin of the ideal agent to attract, what would those characteristics be? And I know that's a deep thought, but you can jump into AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, any AI platform that you love, and ask it point blank, hey, I want to develop a persona around an agents who may have dropped their production by 20% in the past 12 months. Go. And what it will do is it'll spit out a persona, characteristics of that agent, giving you an idea of what their thoughts, what their wants, what their needs might be. And for us, that's exactly what we're striving to do. We're aiming for agents that are in between 5 to 20 units a year that may have had a decrease in production by 10 or 20% or more, because those agents may need more coaching. They may need more out of their commission. And so because of that, and me going into AI and saying, hey, build a persona around these characteristics, I was able to craft messages and tailor messages that I can put and automate within Brokerkit. But step one is know who you're going after. Don't just spew out everything to everybody. So I think broker owners need to be thinking about developing that persona. And what I love about Brokerkit is I can easily click a couple buttons in the advanced filters to identify agents that are decreasing production, that have a high potential of transferring, and have opened an email from my last campaign, which that level of analytic is impressive. And it's a depth that you should be using. Tags, for example. I had my virtual assistants, and if you're not using this in Brokerkit, you probably should. The look up social media profiles button in each agent's profile, you can click it and it'll pull in their social media profiles. The first day I got the platform, I had my virtual assistants go in and find the Instagram pages of like the 300 agents that I was going after and paste their Instagram link in their profile. So if I ever wanted to go take a look at how they're doing or shoot them a message, I could click that and go. And I use Instagram because Facebook limits how many followers you have. Instagram doesn't care. They want you to have as many. So I'll do 5 a day. I'll go and add 5 agents to my Instagram, and a lot of times they're add back. And then what do you do? So the possibilities are endless. It's really identifying that persona you want to go after, having that identity, if you will, and using a great tool like Brokerkit to put together the campaigns and really connect with that agent when they need to be connected with, not just with the same what message.
Right. And I love that, the win, because the win is really intent, right? And that's what we're trying to give you is intent data that you can take action on. What we see when we talk to kind of people that are potentially new customers or potential customers, a lot of people that aren't having great results are following some of the older techniques like sending out email newsletters, right? And they're not getting the same results that they are. They're just blasting kind of generic content out to a pretty big list. But these days, you got to think rifle shot versus shotgun shot, and then send them. I mean, there's a few things, right? It's be very precise in your persona for people that are a good fit. The messaging aligns very tightly with that. Use intent, right? Like intent signals to reach out at the right time and keep reaching out because the fortune's in the follow-up. And then the other thing I love that you said is we firmly believe in multi-channel, multi-touch outreach, right? Because you just send one email and say, oh, it doesn't work. Nothing happened. Right. You've got to keep following up with people. And if you have the intent, like, hey, I see that you just had a closing and you're reaching out, it's giving a kind of a positive reason to reach out and you're connecting with people. But I love the multi-channel, right? Using social media because a lot of people are very reliant on email. We've seen people start to get into kind of texting. A lot of people, and you said it earlier, afraid to pick up the phone. I mean, at the end of the day, phones is how you close it, but all the other channels are a way to warm people up before you have that conversation. Especially if you're using intent data and using social media in your outreach as part of the sequences. We've got it built into our campaigns using kind of LinkedIn, but Instagram's great. I mean, I think I'd like to see more people using that, but in a systematic way, basically as part of, these campaigns. We're trying to build relationships with these people and you've built into your list, the list being essentially a territory you've created of people based on their geography, their production levels, and their intent, essentially.
Without a doubt. And I mean, getting back to multiple channels, if you're putting out recruiting content on your Instagram, are you reapplying that within your CRM? For example, one of the first blast emails I did send out was a video that I put on Instagram, because here's the deal. If you're going to put it out there in the world on social media, don't double the work and write a completely different email to send out for that week. If you put out a great recruiting or attraction video, go into the CRM. And then I went and looked maybe a couple hours later and my feed was full of who opened that email. And simple things like going in and taking a look at each one of those. And it not only does it tell you how many times it's open, how many times they're clicked. And if you're putting out communication and you're not asking for a call to action, you have nothing to measure. They have nothing but opens to measure. My bills don't get paid because I opened up the envelope, right? My bill gets paid because I sent in the bill. I paid it. So what I love about the platform is it tracks the opens and it tracks the clicks. And yet again, if you're putting out content and you're not sure of a call to action, ask the AI, write me a call to action for this, or what should I use for a call to action? Because you want agents to engage. And if they opened an email, are you making it a habit to go and add them on Instagram? Or if you add them on Instagram, did you go check to see if they opened your email? I mean, those small little tweaks make what you'll end up hearing, man, I see you everywhere. And as an agent and as a broker owner, that's what I want to hear.
Because it's multiple touches, right? You got to cut through the noise. I mean, even if you are kind of precise in your messaging and super clear who you're going after, right? If they don't know you, that first message probably isn't going to get a reply, right? The other thing I see people do is go after too big of a list, right? Because the way you got to think about it is I'm building a list of people I want to build a relationship with and keep up with, right? Because you kind of touched on it earlier, what percent of those people are ready to just jump ship right now? I mean, it's going to require keeping in touch so that they know, like, and trust you. And then you're the one they call when they're ready, essentially. So let's just get a little more kind of specific. Like, what are your sources of recruiting leads? Do you go after new agents at all? Are you primarily focused on experience? Are you using that Realix data? If so, what specific parameters?
You bet. Absolutely using the Realytics data. I don't know what people are doing if they're not using that level of data. So like within the first couple of days, I built a couple lists, people within a 3-mile radius. So that way, now mind you, for agents, commute may not be a big deal, but they like a close place to land, print some stuff out, get some stuff done. And when we were doing our grand opening, I knew that I had the highest likelihood of people popping in to our grand opening if they were the closest. So I think I have a setting for agents within a 3-mile radius. And then we went and did different tiered data imports that were volume based, 1 to 5, 1 to 5 million, 6 to 10 million. And then the one that was cool that I didn't think about was, we have an import for agents that have been in the MLS for like a month, which I wouldn't even have thought to. Like as a broker owner, you're always wondering, how does everybody get these lists of these brand new agents? Where's it come from? And you feel like you got to, sell an arm to get some of those lists. And I think that one was super cool. Now, me specifically, I'm going after the experienced agents, probably the 2 million and above producers, because I lead with coaching, and I kind of need some of those foundations to already be developed. I have a broker partner. She's focused on those brand new agents, either just got their license or, are doing less than 2 million. So we kind of split that. One thing we're leaning really, really heavy into is a focus on educational workshops for agents, not the dry contracty ones that people do just to muster up some CEs for the end of the year. I want the fun, how to use AI in your business, or the 5 AI tools that you need for 2025. And what we are going to start doing, and I'm pretty excited, is we're put together that invite as an email within Brokerkit and then just continuously send it. And at the end of the day, it's the best bang for my buck. I show up for 2 hours in one spot, hopefully with 20, 30 agents, and I speak once, and lovingly, 1 to 2 are attracted to that. They want to join that. So don't get me wrong, the sniper approach is great for snipers, but it's one at a time. And so I like the idea of funneling people through a growth-based workshop, because that'll give me a great indication on whether they are looking for coaching, even if it's to come to one workshop or multiple. And it gives me an easy way. That's why I'm excited to couple it with the daily feed of closings that we're going to start getting. If an agent closes, how selfless is it for me to offer you, Jim? Hey, Jim, saw you disclose 1234 Main Street. Congrats. I don't know if you know this, but next month on the 15th, I'm offering a workshop, 5 of the best AI tools to use for listings, completely free. Just figured I would want to send you an invite. I mean, it's selfless. I'm giving you an opportunity I'm giving you congratulations, and I'm giving you an opportunity to come sit down. You don't even have to reply directly. I'll know if you registered. So we're looking for coachable agents. We have our strategy is to provide monthly educational sessions that are out of the box, innovative, and ultimately the intent is twofold. It's best use of my time, and if they show up and I got a room of 30 and 1 to 2 want to join, I love it. Maybe it takes 1 workshop. Maybe they have to go to 3. But I would encourage broker owners to be thinking outside the box in their recruiting strategy and lead with offering workshops or educational sessions. So yeah, that's kind of our focus.
Cool. And you're obviously kind of more recent in your journey here, leveraging kind of Brokerkit for this outreach, but like, how are the conversations going? What's the response? How's it going with kind of turning those into meetings and hires?
Absolutely. At minimum, when you have a give that is selfless, don't forget the value and the thank yous. I get multiple thank yous from agents who I've even done transactions with, or like the simple congratulations. Hey, thank you, Scott. Understand, like, human beings don't answer questions quickly that take them longer than 3 seconds. That's a fact, right? So are you asking a 9-word question in your email to get a response that would take them less than 3 seconds? And why is this important? And I really want people to think about this. Email is really smart. Doesn't feel like it, but it's really, really smart, and it's only getting smarter. When they simply reply back, thank you, yes, no, or whatever, what they're teaching their email client, with Gmail, whatever you want, is that you're a friend, right? They replied back, the Gmail picked it up, and the likelihood of your emails getting to them the next time, I don't know what the percentage is, but it increases greatly simply because they replied back to and said a thank you off of a congratulations. So I love the response question, because I often think we ask such large questions. The idea around sending the perfect email to recruit an agent at 9:47 a.m. one time is bonkers to me. I mean, that doesn't make any logical sense. So that being said, the open rate, and I will say this because I do measure open rate. I'm a little bit nerdy about that stuff. The open rate that I'm getting and using the platform is exponentially higher than previous platforms that I've used, to include some email clients that like a MailChimp and Constant Contact. So the right tools and resources are there. Your communications are getting to the agent. The question you got to ask yourself is the response you're asking for too big? Don't ask for a first date if you haven't asked their name yet. I mean, it seems silly, but ask simple questions to get easy responses, and do that one little bit at a time. And make sure that when we do get responses, we're going to thank you, or yeah, I'll think about it, or even a no thanks. I don't care what the answer is. I get frustrated when I don't get one. Making sure that you're changing that leads pipeline in the platform, or you have tags around their level of response. You can add tags in the platform. If you're not using this, you probably should, because it's your job as the broker owner to guide and measure that person down the pipeline. So response rate has been great. It was really, really easy to, now I was not a marketer. I was not in tech before this. You heard my background, okay?
Yeah.
I've had a big struggle in taking video content and embedding it in emails successfully. It was really easy to do in Brokerkit, and I loved it. And I send it out, and I get told not only who opened it, but who clicked. So they're watching my face when I'm sending these videos out. And so I think the open rate's great. The response rate has been great. And it's been, so far, it's been great to use. Yeah, we like it.
That's interesting. I like the point you touched on related to email, because it's become a complex topic, and it's because Google and Microsoft and whatnot are using AI even to determine what is spam these days. And when I get questions like, my email didn't go through, and there are some technical setup things like the email sending domains we help you do that a lot of platforms wouldn't.
That was easy, yeah.
But the quality of your email has a huge impact on the response rate, or how many responses you're going to get, because it's going to determine whether it lands in their inbox based on the engagement that it receives. And so essentially they're using machine learning to determine what's a good email.
Yeah.
And that predicts what goes in the email box. And it's just like what I like to, and by the way, it's happening on Indeed for job postings too. When people say, I posted an agent role to Indeed and I didn't get anything, they're doing the same thing. So the way I think about it is, right, because if you've been in, a lot of brokers have been semi-involved in SEO on their website to try to get leads. Like where you rank, there's like the dark arts like backlinks and stuff like that. But a big part of it is the engagement stats. Like, do people click on it? Do they immediately hit back? How long do they stay on the site? Google's doing the same thing with your emails now, right? And if people engage with the email, they think it's a good email, and they're going to, when you send them in the future, they're going to end up in the inbox. My biggest, and we had a webinar on exactly this topic earlier in the year, and my big thing is like, it's the golden rule. Send emails you would want to receive, and like you won't have deliverability issues, right? It's like when you're sending stuff that like you wouldn't want to get, and you would hit unsubscribe on, they will too, right?
That's such a great point. I think, and I was just talking to a peer about this, I think as AI continues to spread and makes life more convenient for agents, brokers alike, I think it reminds me of just a tipping scale. The heavier that AI gets, the higher the necessity for authenticity. And so I think, how do you craft an AI email that stays authentic? A couple things to think about is, if I ask you the question, if an envelope or a letter was mailed to you with no name on it, do you think it'd ever make it to you? Probably not, right? So in the subject line of your email, are you starting with the merge field that is first name? Because if Gmail picks up that it's just, there's no first name on it, I mean, you can't blame it for throwing in the trash, because if I see "or current resident" on one of my letters or postcards, I toss it. The simple, and you can do that in the platform. You can click AI, you can copy the merge field that goes into the subject line for first name, and you probably should be doing that for all your templated emails, because call the person out. Hey, Jim, quick question, right? And you'd be surprised when you include the merge fields for someone's first name, how often or how much more your emails get written. So don't oversaturate anything with AI and forget about authenticity. So make sure when you're building said persona, and one of the things that I hear often is that people don't like using AI because it doesn't sound like them. And I mean, the AI doesn't know you, which is probably a good thing. go over to your branding guidelines, go over to your Facebook. If you do videos like you and I do, copy the transcripts and go over to AI and say, this is my tone. One of the first things I did was I went to some of my highest performing videos and content on social media, and I extracted the descriptions, the transcript, etc. And I just vomited it all into AI and said, analyze all of this. Give me my tone back. And it gave me 3 paragraphs of what my tone of communication is, simply because I've already done the work. I just asked it to analyze it. So I took that and said, this is my tone. Write emails in this tone. So when I go to start or using AI, I vomit that tone into the chat. And now I know that the message is going to come out authentically. So be hyper vigilant in balancing AI with authenticity and how you communicate. And I think if people can remember that, they're going to stay ahead of the game when it comes to this mass production of content using AI. Yeah.
Yeah. Context window has gotten pretty long. So you can give pretty detailed instructions. And I would agree that the more specific you are, the better the response. It's worth spending a couple minutes giving it a little extra content. And like that whole tone that you said of, I mean, you could templatize that, and every time you have a prompt, throw it in there to give it additional content. You're going to get kind of much better responses, and they're going to sound like you, right? And and if they are, they're going to work better, really, because at the end of the day, you're trying to start a relationship with people, and if they end up talking to them and you sound completely different than what you mentioned before, it's going to be a little kind of confusing. And then oh, and by the way, the Indeed thing, it actually is really similar. So if you go in as a test, and so in real estate, agent roles are considered lower quality because they're contractor commission only. So you have to be really careful how you write them, right? If you go in and put like a bunch of like dollar signs in there, we're going to make you lots of money, spammy content, like expect no visibility on Indeed. They will do the same thing, right? So it's like how you write it has a big impact on kind of visibility there. And I think it's really like all the platforms these days, right?
Yeah. One area that we haven't delved into that I'm excited to kind of delve into that you offer and we want to get better at is the retention section. So when we go to onboard an agent, we have a checklist of the tutorials that they should be looking at, viewing, all that kind of stuff. And we crafted in, because that was one of the most attractive things when I started looking at the platform, was the retention ability, the ability to onboard and set up those campaigns. And I was just the other day, I was putting together that first templated email for onboarding agents, and I'm excited to do it. We took the landing pages, a couple of them, and we made them QR codes, and we have them advertised in bins. But what I like is the ability to capture recruiting leads on your own. And then I'm excited to kind of dive a little bit more too in the retention lane as far as onboarding. I like that I can set up the simple things like birthdays or anniversary dates. And so that's one area that I know I need to grow as a broker owner, is putting together that retention love to make sure that our agents stay with us as well.
Yeah, those date-based triggers takes a little bit of action on your part, but once you set it up, they're just going to work, right? So for things like birthdays, anniversaries, license expiration date, we've got a campaign in the campaign library that you can copy down, tailor for your own brokerage, set up a trigger, and then they're literally going to get the message from then on, and it can be an email or text to them or both, and then a task to somebody internally to just give them a shout, and that'll go a long way with staying in touch with your agents. And in terms of retention, what we consistently hear on this podcast and in other discussions is, I mean, it's all about helping them succeed by coaching them to production and then just keeping them engaged, keeping them feeling like they're part of an organization versus just kind of hanging out there. And those touches are important.
Yeah.
And then for the record, so Agent Alerts is built and it's in beta. You'll be seeing that soon. And document management, by the way, is built and soon to be in testing. So you'll be able to manage all the documents for all your agents and recruiting retention.
Oh, wow. That's super cool. Yeah. That's those little things that, like I said, the previous platform I was using felt archaic, and it just, being a new broker owner and the identity of recruiting, the identity of attraction is new. Some of the tools I saw out there, I'm like, holy cow, how does anybody get any agents with this MS-DOS style platform? And no, I've jumped to it. I think you guys are definitely leading the way, and the staff has been great to work with. I think, we're getting updates and new tools. I get excited to see some of these new tools and resources. It really feels like you've done a great job at staying connected to us as owners and leaders, and listening to what the future is, and even thinking far enough in advance for us to help bring those tools and resources. So no, I'm excited. It's every time I turn over something new in the platform, I'm loving it.
We try to follow what I would call like a community-driven product development approach. So we do have a product forum. I don't know if you've seen it. We love it when, if you do have ideas, go out and log them, go out and vote on the ideas. It really helps us prioritize the roadmap, because at the end of the day, we don't want to guess what people want, right? We want to hear. And that helps us really keep the changes to the platform focused on what's going to create the most value for you. So please do engage you, Scott, and other listeners out there if you're a customer.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. Well, maybe that covers recruiting, retention, maybe just like a little more broad question, just maybe looking back, there's been a transformation obviously since social work to where you are now. What are some of the tips to your former self that you wish you knew then that would get you to where you are now faster?
Oh man, that's such a good question. Your own path is okay. At no fault to others, when you enter this industry, both as an agent and what I found as a broker owner, is others have strategies that worked for them. And I think both agents and broker owners alike fall into, well, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how it works. And it's such a cage. And you would think, me knowing that as an agent, I would have immediately transferred that thought process into broker ownership. Not at all. Because immediately you're looking around, you're like, how the heck do I do this? And then what do you end up doing? You end up falling into strategies that just don't feel like you. Trust that gut process. If it doesn't feel like you're probably not going to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about it, people aren't going to be attracted to what you have to offer. And they're not attracted, they're not going to come. So me from a few years ago is keep my identity. And I learned it earlier in the broker ownership process than I did in the real estate agent process. And you can't fault others for having their tools and resources. You can't blame anybody for giving you their strategy. They're helping you in their mind. But be true to who you are, your skills, your resources. I'm not artistic by nature, so I don't do my designs. Conceptual by nature, believe it or not. I'm analytical after the fact. So I know that if I'm not passionate about a strategy, I'm not going to do it. And if I'm not passionate about it, the world won't feel that passion. So I think what's necessary in a world like now is be really, really concrete with your value proposition. Lovingly, we all have very similar tools and resources. I don't care what anybody says. It's the truth. What do you offer as a leader and a broker owner? What difference do you want to make in the world of agents and teams alike? And how do you lead with that in conveying also video? Like, I'm just going to be honest. I don't even like sending emails without video content in it, because I don't feel that I could best articulate my value without expressing it verbally. And so as you don't have to be the one behind the camera nowadays. You can use AI to develop video, but if you're going to communicate your purpose, your mission, people want to feel what your vision is. They want to feel what your brokerage's purpose is. They want to feel what your value proposition is. Lovingly, we all skim emails. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb and tell the world what you're doing, and that requires a camera of some sort. And so I guess the two things I'd probably lean into, or I'm going to continue to lean into, is respect your identity, because it's why people are attracted to what you have to offer, and use video to tell the world about that identity and that value proposition.
Love those. I mean, to me, there's so much in there to respond to. I mean, First of all, we're on video, so I love video. Yep. I mean, this podcast is available on YouTube, which we've got a YouTube channel with over 100 videos. And then some of it's product related, some of it's best practices, but you can also listen to the podcast. But video is great. And I was on a call a couple days ago with a sales prospect, and I started to say something, and he was like, you don't need to. I already listened to the podcast.
There you go.
He's like, I already know what you're going to say. And I was like, okay. That made it for a very efficient conversation. So loved it. I mean, and love all our listeners out there. But also kind of the piece you talked about, knowing your kind of core focus. I mean, being mission driven, I think is so important, because, what I would view for Brokerkit is like our mission is to just help as many brokers out there grow their business as possible. And I don't want to focus on numbers, because honestly, if you focus on that, the numbers will follow. At the end of the day, it's a business where people talk to each other. A lot of our customers come in word of mouth, and it's much more important to just focus on how do you help people be successful? Yeah. The numbers will follow. And I think real estate's the same way. I mean, and especially recruiting with agents, right? They talk to each other. Some of the most successful brokers we talk to, they're getting a lot of their agents from referrals. And it's part of having a very clear mission, core values associated with it, living those core values. And that's going to resonate for certain people and maybe not for everyone. I think that's kind of really important. The other thing you said that is super interesting is like, I don't know how many brokers would have read this. This is really big in the tech world, but there's a very influential book called The Lean Startup. And the Lean Startup, it actually applies to brokerages. It applies to all businesses. It's just not really known in the software world. The point of the Lean Startup is like, don't guess what people want. Basically build a little slice of that thing and try to sell it and then see what objections you get. And then you evolve it from there. Because people will tell you what you should do because it worked for them, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Like when you're in a business, lots of people try to tell you what to do. It doesn't mean it's going to work just because it worked for them, because it could have been a different time, a different market, a different brand. Like everything could be totally different and you do exactly what they did and it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And you may not be passionate about it because it may not be something that you get excited about. At the end of the day, listen to what people say as ideas. You've got to develop your own kind of course, which is something you're passionate about. It's going to work with you. And the other thing about the Lean Startup is the guy that wrote it is basically like every change you make, you should consider an experiment because you don't really know if it's going to work or not just because somebody told you. So like when you try something new, just think of it as an experiment and try to decide, okay, how am I going to know if this was a good experiment or bad? At what point am I going to do it? And like, how would I know? Yeah. And if it works and you call it a success, do more of it. If it doesn't, do less of it. And that really applies to like everything in life, really. I mean, because there's lots of people that are going to try to tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you've got to figure it out on your own. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was ex-military, and what you just said there hit hard because when we would complete any action, small action movement from point A to point B or a bigger operation, we would do an AAR, an after action review about everything, like 7 times an event. And it was 3 questions. What did we do? What did we do that we need to sustain, keep? Improvements. What did we do that we need to improve? And what didn't we do that we should have done? And we would do that after every single action, and we'd keep those notes. And so when it was the next year to do this movement or that operation, we can go back and look at those previous notes. And it's 3 simple questions. What do we do that worked? What did we do that didn't quite work as we thought? And what didn't we do that we should have done? So I agree 100%. That's I'm gonna have to get that book. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and by the way, this AAR, I have somebody that was in our team that was on the Army that mentioned that last week, and I'd never heard that term. And I was like, that sounds like that sounds like something the military would come up with.
Yeah.
So, like, love it. Okay. Yeah. And honestly, it goes back to why we love the idea forum. Like, I don't want to guess what people want. Like, you tell me. All my listeners, especially if you're a customer, I want you to engage in the community and help us figure out what we should be building. I was on a call once and somebody's like, well, this other product has that and you don't. And I'm like, okay, but nobody's ever asked for it.
Yeah.
Like, why would I just clone something else just because they do it? Like, if none of my customers like want it or would benefit from it, does that make sense? So, like, you as a brokerage need to think the same, right?
100%.
At the end of the day, how are you going to help your agents succeed and have a great career with your business, and it'll grow?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, I think that covers, we've covered a lot of ground today, Scott. Thank you for your time. I think that's covered all of the questions I have for you today. Maybe just where would our listeners find you online if they had more questions for you?
You bet. So my handle on most of my social media platforms is at Scott, SCOTTB, the Realtor, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. So you can find me on there. Feel free. I'm a follow for follow type of guy. Give me a follow. I'll follow back. Would love to exchange ideas either from this given podcast and questions in general. So thank you so much for having me. Love the platform. Would love to have future conversations as well. So if you're listening, definitely lean into all the cool tools and resources that they offer.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott, for joining us today. And thanks to our listeners for listening in. Hopefully you got some interesting ideas to put into practice. Again, we're not telling you what to do because it depends on what is going to work for you. But I think there's some good ideas out there that all of you could think about putting into practice. And we'd love to see you on future episodes where we talk about with other brokerage leadership about how to grow their business by improving their agent recruiting intention. Thanks so much and have a great day.